I want to turn my attention to an equally astonishing artist, Eliot Fisk. I'm going to quote from Robert Ferguson's excellent article, also from this same soundboard from 2 years ago, just to give you a quick framing and then have a couple of words from some friends. Born in Philadelphia, 1954, Eliot Fisk began playing guitar at age 7 after a 1-month bout with the banjo. His first serious study consisted of 2 years of Saturday lessons at a local guitar store with an engineer and amateur guitarist named William Viola. That was the only regular instruction he had from age 12 to 14. The rest, he says, was trial and error and good fortune. In 1970, and for many summers after, Fisk studied with the great Oscar Giglia at the Aspen School. In the summer of '73, he received a grant to study with the great Eliot Diaz. These are both GFA inductees in the past as well, at Banff in Canada. And around this time, he met Segovia, and whenever Segovia would come to New York, he would invite Fisk up, and he would have lessons with him in his apartment. When he reached college age, Fisk enrolled at the Yale School of Music, or actually at the Yale College, the Yale University. And the final great influence, I think, that he describes it on his life, came into his sphere. That was Ralph Kirkpatrick, the K of the Scarlatti catalog. He studied Baroque interpretation and music and life from Ralph Kirkpatrick. And he credits those 4 musicians as really shaping his artistic and musical career as he started. He graduated in 1976, summa cum laude from Yale College. 1977, he earned an MA from Yale, and the following year, he founded the school's guitar program, which is thriving today as one of the real exemplars in the United States and in the world. Since then, he has traveled the world as performer and teacher. He's taken every continent by storm. He currently leads 2 guitar programs, 2 different continents, the Mozarteum in Salzburg, Austria, the New England Conservatory in Boston, runs an amazing music festival in Boston, and has an astonishingly rich musical life. I think you know that his contribution, not only as a player, but as an arranger, has been really transformational for our guitar program. He has translated Baroque music in particular from all this rich world of learning in the 70s and 80s into our instrument. But beyond that, the commissioning he's done has really laid a foundation of 20th and 21st century music that will, I think, in many ways remain his biggest legacy. The Barrio Sequenza, thanks to you. So many works, Robert Beezer, Nicholas Maw, George Rockberg, Leonardo, Ballata, it goes on and on. He's recorded over 30 amazing recordings over his career. His work really seems to be on a trajectory that's still moving up. I don't know what's going to happen next, but he just was in my town doing, I think, 8 world premieres of new works, just UCLA with Eliot Fisk, with Ian Krauss. And his capacity is truly astonishing. I wanted to read you a couple of quotes from a couple of friends, former students of his, just to give you a sense of their relationship to Eliot. And I want to start, I just have 4, and I want to start with one from a very young Adam Holtzman, another GFA laureate. he has an experience when he took his first lesson with you. He said, I felt prepared for the lesson. I had ready the Torba Sonatina, Dowland Fantasy No. 7, the Bach Chaconne. It's a lot of work. I began with the Dowland. I played 7 notes, and then Eliot began. Well, he taught me to read tablature, from Milan to Dowland to Weiss. He taught me phrasing, articulation. He spoke on many topics, so many topics that I was both lost and excited all at once. 2.5 hours later, I finally realized that 1, my parents were waiting downstairs. 2, I had only actually performed 7 notes. In a panic, knowing that my father would want to know exactly what I'd played and exactly what we'd worked on, I looked at Eliot, explained the situation, and said, if I don't play something, my parents won't quite understand what we were doing all this time. Eliot laughed, said, play whatever you like. I'll see you next week. I remember even now, 35 years later, feeling like I'd been hit by a tsunami of ideas. Philip de Fremery, one word, phenomenal. Were we to list and verse, we could add 54 additional words. First of all, the term boundless energy could have been coined for Eliot. His technical tools are arguably the new gold standard. His fiercely disciplined musical intelligence speaks of an abstract conscience that will never rest. But what binds it all together, the straw that stirs the drink, is that he is truly fearless. Grisha Gorachev. Visiting Eliot for a weekend of lessons was like jumping on the Starship Enterprise. Not having a clue which galaxy we would explore together, but traveling at light speed through vast and bountiful musical solar systems. And finally, Ricardo Gallen. I cannot finish without first telling an anecdote involving my adopted brother, Maestro Marco Tamayo, also a student of Eliot's, and me in our years of study at the Mozarteum. We were walking through the city thinking about the special environment that reigned around Eliot and his class and how much we'd learned. Endless hours of class, the excitement of our own lessons, watching him teach others, the enthusiastic faces of our fellow students, the posters of his concerts hanging on the walls of the studio, after-class dinners. And at the same moment, a sad thought crossed our minds, that someday, both Maestro Joaquin Clerch, Eliot's assistant at the time, and Eliot would no longer be at the Mozarteum teaching. We felt an indescribable emptiness and desolation. We looked at each other and embraced tightly in tears. Eliot, you have been the greatest gift we have had in our lives. Thank you for existing and opening the door to your world and making us great of heart. Ricardo Gallen. Eliot, we feel that same combination of joy and sadness at this moment, and we're so happy you're here. Eliot, we'd like to give you and induct you into the Hall of Fame for the GFA, to give you this Artistic Achievement Award for monumental contributions to the development of the art and life of the classical guitar.
Thank you. Thank you very much. It's a very great honor to be inducted along with my brother, Eduardo. We have known each other 45 years, however long it is, and even though we haven't spent that much time together, we've been together on at one time or another, on most of the continents in the world, so it's beautiful fulfillment to have the honor of being inducted alongside this fantastic colleague who, as I said, is like a brother, even though we didn't grow up together. We almost did grow up together. Anyway, spiritually we did. And the only thing I would add is that actually, in addition to all my magnificent teachers who were beautifully described by Brian tonight, really, I would just like to say, to really get to the truth of things, that probably in my life, my greatest teacher was my brother who has passed away, as Segovia would say, preceded me in the transition to eternity. Because my only brother had Down syndrome. And this was perhaps, for you who don't know, that's a form of mental retardation that's caused by having an extra Y chromosome on the 21st pair. And really, when I think about what made me an artist, or what made me maybe look for new solutions, and maybe feel things with a different kind of intensity, I would say it was probably my brother and the experience of just dealing with his disability that actually taught me the most. So it's a very beautiful thing to be associated with these great musical geniuses. But I think music for all of us and for our wonderful colleagues, our magnificent younger colleagues who have delighted us all in this week, I think for all of us, this is really what counts, this most intimate inner part of ourselves, which is touched by the art of music. And at this time in history where the human race is committing suicide, and people are screaming hatred at each other and killing each other, murdering each other, we must remember that music really has the only answer, not just for musicians, but for humanity. And I'm so grateful to be, and so honored to be here with so many people who have devoted their lives in so many wonderful ways to the sacred art of music, to the Holde Kunst of Schubert's An die Musik. And it's just a great pleasure to be with you all tonight. So thank you so much.